Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the Jason Wright Show. Please, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, consider clicking like or subscribe. And if you're listening to this on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, please consider, I think I'm seeing Amazon advertising podcasts all the time now. And I suppose the Jason Wright Show is on Amazon. I just haven't checked it out because that's not where I consume my podcast. But if that's where you get yours, then please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and subscribing and sharing this far and wide. So today I want to talk about one of the greatest productivity hacks I've ever learned in my life. And the reason why I want to talk about it today is because, well, it's not the reason why, but kind of what made me think to use this as a Monday Morning Mentor episode was one of my actual mentees that I work with was just in town, and he told me that he had just listened to an episode of the Jason Wright Show. Hunter Dunn, by the way, shout out to Hunter Dunn. That's who I'm referring to. Hunter said that he had just recently listened to my episode on flow. And I think I've actually done several episodes on flow. I got on a real flow kick, I don't know, probably 2 years ago when I started reading Stephen Kotler's book. The first one was The Rise of Superman. Really good book. And essentially, Stephen Kotler's kind of made of cottage industry, kind of like what Ryan Holiday has done with Stoicism. Stephen Kotler's kind of made a cottage industry out of the study of flow. And just a little bit of unnecessary background on Stephen Kotler, who is a fantastic author. He was a journalist by trade who started studying and researching extreme sport athletes. You know, he wanted to know how, like Laird Hamilton, how does a guy like Laird Hamilton tackle just these mega uber dangerous waves that he does? And then he started studying folks that did like base jumping and all these other just extreme sports to figure out what is it that drives these people to do these almost superhuman feats, which is hence the rise of Superman. And what he found out was the thing that all of these folks seem to have in common is that they had realized or they had mastered the ability to drop into a flow state. And in a flow state, it's almost like, I've often referred to it as like being like Eddie Mara in Limitless, where the movie with Bradley Cooper, where he takes the pill and all of a sudden he can just use more of his brain than anybody else, and like everything, it's like time slows down. He has this intense focus. There's no such thing as a problem that's too hard for him to solve. It's just kind of like this magical time. Well, we can really do that, not to the extent that he did it in the movie, but we do have this almost superpower like, I guess you'd call it, I don't know, phase or whatever that we can drop into at our disposal, which is flow. And so today I want to tell you why flow is so important. I just came out of a flow state. That's also why this is on my mind. I sat down and I was doing some work and I was able to drop into a flow state, and I just knocked out a lot of work in a very short period of time. And I want to tell you why flow is so magical. And I'm not going to go into an entire long diatribe on flow state and how all the neurochemistry that's involved and how you kind of line it up and how you manipulate your serotonin levels and your norepinephrine and all these things. I'm not going to do that. You can go look at the archives to find that. Maybe I'll do it in a later date. Actually created a course on flow that I never published. I probably should have. But anyway, I was kind of had it fresh on my mind, and so I'm going to focus this camera a little better. I wanted to bring it to you guys because I think it literally is one of the greatest productivity hacks you can have. But I'm going to take one aspect of flow, which is the preparation of it, setting yourself up for a flow state instead of just going through all the other background. And I mean, there's books on it. I think it's Catching Fire is one of Kotler's books where he really goes into it. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who's like I'm probably pronounced his name wrong, but he's like the godfather of flow. I highly recommend his book on flow because he's the one who basically kind of literally wrote the book on flow. But we're not going to go into that much detail, but I want to just give you an understanding of how you set yourself up to get into a hyper productive state. Okay, so again, I'm just coming out of it, and the way I set myself up to get into a flow state, I guess probably about an hour ago, was I sat down at my desk, and the first thing I did was I started to breathe deeply. Just take a deep breath, and I started to think about the task at hand, which in this case was some pricing for my nutraceutical company that we're working through. We're working with some manufacturers. There's been a lot of talk going back and forth about how we're going to price different things. And so I just started trying to kind of organize my thoughts around, okay, what I want to do is kind of bring my mind up to date on where we are. And so the thing that I told myself was the only thing I am going to think about right now is Authentic Health Partners, our pricing structure, a decision that had to be made on some copywriting, and that was it. And so I made sure my desk was clear. There were no other tabs open on my computer except the one that had to do with my notes for the task at hand. I got myself kind of like calmed. I did some box breathing to calm my mind. And then I just went to work. And the thing that I had to tell myself, and this is one of the things that's really hard for me, is when I start doing one task, immediately opportunity costs start just bombarding my head. And I don't know if this ever happens to you, but like when I'm doing one thing, I start to think about all the other things I could be doing. So the only way that I can get myself to not do that is to specifically say, right now, this is all I'm doing. I literally have to tell myself, the task at hand is the only thing I am going to do for the next 45 minutes, whatever the case may be, 45, 90, an hour, whatever it is. This is all I'm going to do. So if you want to start tapping into a flow state, this is what you have to do. And one of the things I would encourage you to do is find a space where you're prepared for it. Your computer is open and your phone is in the other room. Get your phone out, no distractions. You can receive no calls, no texts, no nothing. You are in this kind of mini state of being off the grid for a moment. And all you're going to do is focus on this task at hand, and you're constantly reminding yourself, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working on. And what'll happen, it's almost like a working meditation. It's almost like, and you'll find that time will start to stand still. You don't get hungry. You don't get tired. You may look up and it's an hour later and you don't even realize it, because what has happened is you've given yourself this time to just let all of your attention and all your focus, and then the neurochemistry of your mind to just all coalesce, kind of like the crossing of the streams in Ghostbusters, to focus on this task. And I guarantee you, I think that the average output is something like 5-to-1, meaning that you can produce 5 times more output per good quality work in a flow state versus a person that is not. So it's 5-to-1. Now, here's the thing. You have to set yourself up for flow, removing the distractions before they can come. Just put blockades up where they can't come in, because what happens is, on average, if you're in a flow state and you get knocked out by a phone call, by a text, or something, just whatever, some other distraction, on average, it takes you something like 23 minutes to get back into a flow state if you're able to get there at all. And so I just wanted to encourage you. I think I've mentioned a lot on the podcast lately that I'm really focusing on deep work and deep focus, and trying to get a whole lot more good quality work done in shorter periods of time. I was listening to someone speak here recently about the Einstein method. Whenever Einstein came up with his theory of relativity, I think at the time he was playing with the idea and kind of coming up with the concept, he was actually still working in the Swiss patent office. And what he finally realized, he was just working on too many things. His brain was basically too diluted, and he wanted to just focus on what really mattered. And he decided that the theory of relativity was in fact the single most important thing that he could work on at that time. And so he just cleared the decks and just gave laser focus to that. And that's kind of become known as the Einstein method. It's this idea that we have to self-impose constraints on what our opportunities and what we're going to focus on. I'm the world's worst at this. I'm really good at saying yes, really bad at saying no. I think there's opportunities around every corner, and I think that if I say no, I'm going to miss out on the next big thing, or maybe the big thing that kind of becomes my seminal work in life. And so I have to really practice this, and I'm going through it right now. I've got a lot of projects in the queue, some of which just need to finally die and go away. And there's some that have been sitting in queue that are like life-changing for me, not on a monetary basis or something like that, but they're things that I just want to achieve personally that I know would be so impactful on my life, but I don't focus on those things and give them the focus because I've got all these other distractions that I let get in the way. So here's the takeaway today. Learn how to drop into a flow state. Set yourself up to get into flow by clearing the decks, clearing your mind, clearing the space, remove all distractions, figure out what the task at hand is, focus deliberately on that task and nothing else. Off the grid, no distractions. Explain to everyone around you. If you do it at home at night, tell your wife, hey, going upstairs, I'm going to go do some deep work, which means I'm going to try to drop into a flow state. Do me a favor, keep the kids away, keep everybody out. I'll come up for air, but just let me have this time. Go ahead. Let people know what you're doing. And I guarantee you this will be a game changer, especially if you're like me. You got the monkey brain constantly going mad and it's hard for you to sit down and focus on one thing because there's like 20 other things that you could be doing. Stop. Prepare yourself and then just kind of get a gauge for what this is like for you. I hope some of you will try this and just kind of write down what it was like. Were you able to find that flow state? And again, it's not like there's any gauge for it. There's not like a little, there's not like some sort of a device you can put on your wrist. You can't add that to your Whoop to determine whether you've gone into a flow state or not. You'll know because all of a sudden you will start to have a focus that you've never had before. But you got to prepare for it. I think that's the most important thing. So I hope this is helpful. I hope you find it useful, and I appreciate you listening. I'm out.